Wow. I think I'm possibly more offended by the racism than the child porn.
Wow, you know what? I might be a but at least I'm not racist. Welcome to the Neon Revolt show. I am your host, Neon. More than 700 girls. That's how many girls, ages 10 to 13, auditioned for the film Cuties, now airing on Netflix. What you're seeing now is footage from one such audition, easily discoverable on YouTube, in response to the original casting call for the film. And what you see here is a relatively normal scene. A young girl talking about herself, her interests and hobbies, drawing and piano, and then doing a little dance and demonstrating some of her more acrobatic skills. A normal girl doing normal girl things for a girl her age. There's nothing particularly exploitative about this audition, and that's not the reason I'm showing it. Casting calls are often pretty generic sounding, with no indication of what the end product will finally look like. Just types and roles boiled down to their essential parts. No, I'm showing this clip precisely because this is the kind of girl that was passed over for the making of this film. Because this is the kind of girl with normal, healthy interests and normal, healthy mannerisms. And that wasn't the kind of girl they were looking for. The herd was culled by the production team, which included a cinematographer who, in 2019, filmed a short film about a 7-year-old girl running around naked in France. And only those who danced in a way that can only be rightfully described as inappropriate were selected to move on to the next group. Those girls were then brought in by the production team to presumably audition in person while being recorded. And then from this, the selection was narrowed down further, until you had the cast, which we've all seen by now, on that infamous Netflix poster for the film. In fact, I'm willing to bet the vast majority of auditions look similar to this video. Parents filming their child on their phone, sending in a short clip on the off chance that they may have what the casting director is looking for. Like so many supportive parents would do after reading a generic casting notice. A notice which, if my own time in Hollywood is any indicator, probably read something like this. Seeking actresses ages 10 to 14, of all races, to work on an exciting new independent dance film by an upcoming visionary director. And so hundreds of clips were sent in until they found the kinds of girls they were looking for, the kinds of girls they could exploit. Because let's not mince words here, that's what they did. They exploited these girls for profit. Such is the gall of Netflix. It's almost impossible to satirize at this point, as recent headlines by the Babylon Bee demonstrate. Awesome. Netflix will now just pump septic waste straight into your living room. Streaming giant Netflix has announced a new and innovative service that will literally just pump thousands of gallons of septic waste right into your living room. For the low price of $8.99 per month, you can watch as sewage trucks back up to your house and pipes 2,000 gallons of brown sludge through the wall until you are neck deep in toxic waste. Hollywood elites rush to normalize pedophilia before they're all outed by Ghislaine Maxwell. With Epstein's infamous assistant Ghislaine Maxwell awaiting trial and testimony in prison, many celebrities, politicians, and entertainment industry elites are rushing to make pedophilia generally acceptable before they're outed as patrons of Epstein's notorious island. Responding to the backlash, Netflix clarifies that its content is mostly pedophilia-free. Responding to the backlash over the worse than you could have ever imagined film Cuties added to its library this week, Netflix clarified that its content is mostly not pedophilia. It's important to remember that our content is mostly pedophilia-free, the Netflix Twitter account had posted in response to the uproar over the movie. We assure you, over 93% of the Netflix library is not pedophilia in any way, a spokesperson said. Trust us, we just did a thorough review of every movie and show in our catalog, and that's a pretty good percentage. You can rest easy that over 9 out of 10 programs you watch on our program don't have any pedophilic content. But this is not the first time Netflix has had a pedophilia problem. In 2018, Netflix acquired the rights to stream the film Girl, a story about a transgender girl, which featured full frontal nudity of a 15-year-old boy at the time, the actor who played the eponymous girl in the film. That didn't cause nearly as much controversy because, how do I put this? Society, by and large, doesn't care when underage boys are sexualized. It's why 97% of the time, when you see a headline about a young schoolteacher engaging in sexual activities with one of her male students, it will usually just say that they had sex, instead of calling it rape. Whereas if the sexes were reversed, where you had a male teacher and a female student involved, everyone would call it rape from the get-go. The assumption generally is that boys want it, therefore it's not harmful. so Girl came and went and basically nobody cared, despite its extremely explicit, pornographic nature. Then, this caused much more of a stir, not only because the victims this time were female, but also much younger. Netflix acquired the film rights to a film called Desire, which featured a scene of a 9-year-old girl accidentally masturbating to orgasm on a pillow, pretending to ride it like a horse while watching a cowboy film on TV. Another series big on exploring this subject matter is the hideous Big Mouth, which features a number of animated children talking to animated genitalia, and it's just a hideous CalArts abomination. I don't even want to talk about it. And right now, there's an entire series on its 3rd season, which Netflix entitled Baby, and this series glamorizes teen prostitution as fun and edgy. There have been other instances of Netflix cultivating pedophilic content for their services, as reported by Enti over at Crazy Days and Nights. This streaming service actually was upset over a scene in a recent episode of a brand new hit video to the service. They wanted the underage sex scene with multiple actors portraying underage people to include graphic nudity and sex. They said since the show is not where its family members are, that it should prove it by going full out. And that was the rebooted Sabrina series on Netflix. Another blind item from Enti would read, "This streaming service is going over the top with their sexualization of teens based on the title for an upcoming series. That is what's going to happen more frequently though, low budget, high clickbait stuff. Gone are the days when they would spend $100 million just to get some buzz. They need viewers to give them cheap content. The original stuff that people actually watch is apparently anything to do with sex and teens." That series was Slutty Teenage Bounty Hunters, which would later be renamed just plain old Teenage Bounty Hunters. There's one more blind item I want to read here. Based on the preview, signs do not look promising for the streaming documentary about the billionaire pedophile to name big names. They have made too many deals with important people, whether with production deals or people who sit on their board, and that was in reference to Netflix's Epstein documentary. So no, this latest scandal with cuties is nothing new to Netflix. It's just the latest in an assault on the family and society by those who wish to sexualize children and send us plunging down that much further on the slippery slope. But what's different about cuties is, they're not getting away with it this time. For whatever reason, despite their previous efforts at normalizing all this, Cuties is hitting a nerve in a way that their earlier films simply did not. You can speculate on why that is. Maybe it's because so many of us are stuck at home right now with nothing to do but watch Netflix. Maybe it's because of high-profile arrests like Epstein and Maxwell. Maybe it's because of the poster Netflix made for the series. Maybe it's all those things and more, causing people to just now wake up. Whatever the reason, Netflix isn't getting away with it like they have in the past, and it's starting to cost them big time. Because an entire segment of the population just became aware of how slippery the slope actually is, and how fast society is riding down it. I've said it before and I'll say it again. The slippery slope is very much real, and very much a thing to be feared, for at the bottom of the slippery slope is hellfire and damnation itself. And if you were an elite trying to enslave people, that is a good thing for you, because a morally bankrupt people is a weak and divided people. Think about it. Families wouldn't even be able to protect their own children for fear of being labeled a bigot. And you, as an elite, can send people down the slippery slope, so long as they don't actually realize they're on the slope, lulled into complacency. But if you make that incline a bit too hard and a bit too fast, that's frightening, and you suddenly jolt people awake. That, again, for whatever reason, is exactly what's happening now with this film, Cuties. These tweets illustrate exactly where we are as a society on this slope. 2011, let us get married, bigot. 2013, bake the cake, bigot. 2015, women can have penises, bigot. 2017, use my preferred pronouns, bigot. 2020, watch the child porn, bigot. Remember in 2015 when we said that gay marriage is a slippery slope and now we have pedophilia on Netflix? Better yet, remember when we said in the 60s that artificial birth control would be a slippery slope, and now we live in the most sexually degenerate society of all time? What's come out of this as a result of all that mess is the sudden realization that, while it's horrible and exploitative what's happened to these kids and these IPs, what's really happening is that all of society is being groomed by these corporate institutions. The nation itself is being conditioned through the exploitation of these little ones. And I think it's that realization more than anything else that's really driving the backlash Netflix is now experiencing and will hopefully continue to experience for the foreseeable future. But you don't have to take my word for it. Listen to the words of a YouTuber who goes by the name of Mr. Girl, and who has received quite a bit of, in my opinion, well-deserved disgust and pushback over what he entitled Cuties, an uncomfortably honest review.
Hi, cuties. Guess what I just watched?
You need to stop everything. This needs to stop. Now. This is not okay. This needs to stop now.
Now, it's a solid film. It's a good movie. Definitely better than most movies. Now, people said that this was Netflix sexualizing children. Other people have said that the film itself is sexualizing children. That's basically akin to child pornography. And that it's, the pedophile left normalizing pedophilia as a legitimate sexual orientation. Hollywood did Pizzagate. I don't know how far down the rabbit hole you want to go. This film does try to make you sexually aroused by 11-year-olds.
This is cancer.
Trigger warning.
This is
honesty.
so much cancer that I can
And
feel the tumors
I'll
growing
say
on my back.
it's not bad at it.
And it's way
It's not a
down
total
heavy
failure
on me,
in
and
that
it's
regard,
not okay.
at least for me. Honesty. I want to say that if you are concerned about people treating this as child pornography, there are probably thousands of people masturbating to this film as we speak.
Just stop.
Trigger warning. Honesty.
Just stop it.
As far as it's
No,
basically,
just stop
and I'll put some shots, and I'll probably include footage throughout the whole review. But yeah, as far as like sexy music videos go, it's not bad. I think that the film is kind of roping you into the discussion of the sexualization of children by sexualizing children and by making you complicit in that, because the camera forces you to ogle these 11-year-old girls. Trigger warning. Honesty. And it juxtaposes these amazing scenes where it's like you'll see the girls playing in bed where they're stuffing gummy bears in their mouths and they're just totally children.
No more.
And then you'll see
Where the fuck are your
them
parents?
shaking their
Who are your
booties
parents?
on this
I'm gonna call Child
stairway as
Protective
they
Services.
make
It's time to
this
stop.
viral video. And they're pretty hot. You can say whatever you want about me. It's not my fault. I didn't make them do that. They did that. That's the point. That's the whole point of the movie, is that you're supposed to be sitting there thinking, look at the blonde one. You're supposed to be sitting there holding these two thoughts in your head, and one, that these are kids, and the other, that they're hot. And I don't even know if you're supposed to be comfortable with that. It's more like you're just supposed to be informed
You're a fucking
that
idiot.
you are capable
needs
of
to
that,
stop
and that you feel
now.
that way. And I already knew that. Now, is it exploitative? Yes, definitely. I made a porn last year, and I feel like I didn't understand. I feel like nobody should it be illegal? No, definitely not. It's not porn.
This is not okay. It's time to stop. It's time to stop.
If you found that review disturbing, what's more disturbing is how many talking heads and Twitterati sound just like him.
I was watching a video last week and a really smart guy said this: pedophiles in 2020 must be living the dream. I'm sorry if that bothers you to hear, but let's call a spade here. I think my point has been proven. You can get away with shit like this now, and there is debate. The fact that there's even debate is blowing my mind.
From The Telegraph, Cuties, Netflix review. A provocative powder keg for an age terrified of child sexuality. Child sexuality. That's the Telegraph's words, not mine. That's how they're trying to frame this. Not as a crime that exploits a victim, but as though these children are empowered by engaging in these behaviors. To be clear, this is just short of asking, but what if the child consents? This isn't Victorian hand-wringing. This isn't puritanical moralizing. This is where we are at right now. This is what is now being pushed on us all. And like our favorite back channel has said, the blue checkmarks swarm to enforce the digital echo. Here's Doc Goo, who you've undoubtedly seen pinned to Trump's Twitter replies by whatever hackjob algorithm Twitter has in place.
The film Cuties is a social commentary against child sexualization and exploitation. But social media and the mainstream media is all about puritanical false accusations, because this is America and this is how we roll.
That's right, bigots. You have to watch the snuff film to know if murder is really bad. You never know. You might just like it if you tried it. And here, with the "you're racist for being against this film," is the Soros rent boy himself, while also calling for the likes of the ADL and SPLC to intervene and stop any legal moves against the film and against Netflix.
If only there was a group of public intellectuals who fancied themselves defenders of free expression who were willing to speak up when they themselves weren't the victims. It's almost as if cancel culture is okay when it's a black Muslim woman telling her own story.
Translation: watch the child pornography, bigot. And of course, if you're against this film, clearly you must be a crazy QAnon conspiracy theorist.
Incidentally, I'm a critic who highly recommends Netflix's Cuties. It's a wonderful, poignant, challenging and nuanced coming-of-age film, smartly crafted by a wonderful director. The controversy surrounding it seems to be propaganda fueled by QAnon types and anti-Semites.
Uh-huh. Well, she gets a 0 out of 10 for originality. That's right, guys. You being mad about this raw sewage being pumped into nearly every home in America is really a conspiracy itself. And that conspiracy is to make all the pedos look bad and accuse people to look good, normal people who will then turn around and go vote for Trump. And you can always count on the sunken-eyed bugman himself, Ben Collins, to come up with the most idiotic takes of all. Here responding to Tulsi Gabbard over her tweets against the film, which contained an image of the film's infamous poster.
It's a special kind of hypocrisy to join in on a conspiracy-addled feeding frenzy about allegedly exploitative images by personally posting the allegedly exploitative images, just to tell everyone how disgusted you are by them. Child trafficking is wrong. Cuties clearly exploits 11-year-olds. NBC expert 4chan reporter, why are you drawing awareness to how wrong this is?
But the most ridiculous take I've seen comes from one John Pavlovitz in response to Matt Walsh.
I have learned today that being anti-pedophilia is a right-wing position. Well, okay then. As a right-winger, I will proudly take ownership of that. Your Christianity is short one, Jesus. Keep riding that high horse all the way to the place self-righteous hypocrites end up.
It's like that old counter-signal meme come to life. I swear, it's basically impossible to satirize these people. They're that far gone now. You're not a Christian if you don't accept corporate giants broadcasting the exploitation of minors. That's what they want you to believe. These people have no scruples, no standards, no backbone. They're tossed by ever-shifting cultural tides, handed down to us by elite cabal moneyed masters, hoping that we'd remain blissfully unaware that these elites have an agenda of their own. How do we know this? Look no further than the Wikipedia entry on one of Netflix's founders, Mark Randolph. Randolph was born in Chappaqua, New York, the eldest child of Stephen Bernays Randolph, an Austrian-born nuclear engineer, and Muriel Lipchuk of Brooklyn, New York. One of Randolph's paternal great-granduncles was psychoanalysis pioneer Sigmund Freud. Another paternal great-uncle of Randolph was Edward Bernays, an Austrian-American pioneer of the field of public relations and propaganda. Freud and Bernays, who was himself a double nephew of Freud. Much has been said on Freud over the years, but I find the Bernays connection much more relevant in this scenario. Bernays, the so-called father of public relations, was, in my opinion, a probable clown who saw humanity as a herd with dangerous, instinctual impulses that could be harnessed by elites, by those in power, through the use of propaganda, to steer the herd in whatever direction they wanted. That is, primarily towards profit. Not necessarily monetary profit, but towards whatever ends they saw as advantageous. In his words, intelligent men must realize that propaganda is the modern instrument by which they can fight for productive ends and help to bring order out of chaos. Order out of chaos, there it is again. Is anyone surprised? Bernays was a central planning advocate, what one might call corporate socialism, and men like Goebbels would go on to read and employ all of Bernays' ideas in their own work. Writing in an essay entitled The Reception of Bernays' Doctrine of Manipulating Public Opinion, Marvin Olasky would cite Leon Whipple's description of Bernays' central ideas. Leon Whipple, in the survey of 1929, wrote of Bernays' apparent belief that somebody who understands the mental processes and social patterns of the masses should manipulate these controls so that the people can know what to believe or buy. Society is too complex, and folks too dumb to find out themselves. The council steps in to help, at a price. He rides here in a world of high spotting, fashion making, window dressing, blind instincts, and artificial habits, where events are created to make news, and indirection is the watchword. The book is worth reading, for the Herr Doctor gives an almost metaphysical exposition of his creed. The general idea is to control every approach to the public mind so we get a desired impression, often unconsciously. Olasky would continue. Bernays himself added some gasoline to this fire when he argued, as did Goebbels, for the necessity of strong men, human gods, to emerge as influencers of public opinion. For instance, in a speech to the Financial Advertisers Association in 1935, Bernays said that the main answer to the financial problems is to acquire an entire new set of outstanding human living symbols that will hold public confidence. Publicists, economists, leaders in research, the heads of great educational institutions can and should be made the human symbols to bring new faith and strength. Journalists compare statements of the sort by Bernays to the thoughts of Goebbels, or, alternatively, Stalin. Sound familiar? All these principles are at play in Netflix, and as their recent pattern of behavior and the recent blind items reveal, Netflix is a propaganda engine, and all of society is being groomed by it. I'll be honest, I'll be shocked if the outrage we're seeing from politicians is little more than empty saber rattling to score easy points with their respective constituencies. I doubt we'll see any serious action from them on this front. Jim Jordan disabused me of that notion of ever receiving any kind of progress from the legislature after his memo on big tech leaked, proving that the various endless committee hearings they held with Silicon Valley technocrats were little more than kabuki theater for the masses designed to protect the very targets of their so-called inquisitions. The important thing right now is to realize this isn't where this ends with Netflix. They will undoubtedly try to push the boundaries again, and again, and again, because they think you're cattle and will just eventually accept, quote-unquote, pedosexuality, just like you did with gay marriage, just like you did with trans acceptance. Because they think you're a dumb animal that they can lead around by the nose, and they want you to think that the slope isn't actually that slippery. How soon until Netflix is streaming the likes of Pretty Baby into every home in America, and you're being called a hate-filled bigot if you think that's awful and degenerate? Oh, wait. What we're seeing right now is an attempt to normalize the unthinkable, and it's not going to stop anytime soon. Netflix will wait until the outrage dies down, and then release the next offensive thing, and the next, and the next, because it's about conditioning you when the time comes, for when all will finally be revealed to the masses. The very least you can do is stop paying for it. Lord have mercy on this nation and expose this darkness. This episode of the Neon Revolt show was entitled The Netflix Problem, Grooming Society to Embrace the Slippery Slope. In case you missed it, check out my last episode on the Transition Integrity Project, which dissects the cabal's strategies for stealing the election in 2020, while also proposing a crowdsourced solution to help us all fight back. Once again, new t-shirts and merch are available at my Teespring store. All orders go to support my work and make you look great. So consider picking something up to show your support for the channel. And lastly, a big thank you to everyone who has taken the time to leave a review for Revolution Q. It's currently sitting at nearly 500 reviews with what is effectively a 5-star ranking, and that's almost unheard of. So again, a gigantic thank you to everyone who has left a positive review for the book. The book is an invaluable red pilling tool, and it's selling out fast, so pick up one before the entire first print run is gone. That's all for this, the 5th edition of the Neon Revolt show. Once again, my name is Neon Revolt. Until next time.